What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Miami Heat Roundtable. My name is Amir. I am joined by the entire crew today for this special draft episode. We are 1 day away from the NBA draft. My friend just texted me. He just said he's a Rockets fan, so they have a top three pick. So he said it feels like Christmas Eve. So I'm excited. I don't think I'm that excited, but we all know the Miami Heat, finally have two picks this year. It's been a long time since we've had two draft picks. More importantly, though, our first round pick is the 15th pick, one spot out of the lottery. So there's been a lot of speculation and guys rumored who the Miami Heat are interested in picking. And there was a few reports that came out. One said that Miami are specifically looking at five guys. I don't know if all will be available, but they mentioned Khalil Ware, Zach Edey, Devin Carter, Ron Holland, Isaiah Collier. So, guys, I wanted to talk to you about this report, and I want to hear from you guys specifically. Who do you predict the Miami Heat are going to draft, and who do you want? So, Ernest, let's start off with you first, if you don't mind.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I think the Heat are lacking two things. One thing that we've all talked about during the whole season, size. Size is an issue. And I know a lot of people are loving Zach Edey. That's Hassan Whiteside 2.0. If I'm the Miami Heat, I'm staying away from that guy. It's not going to work with this system. The guy that I'm looking at, Kel Ware from Indiana. Average 16 points a game, 10 rebounds, 42% from the three-point line, 3 attempts a game. He's also amazing in the defensive end. He averaged 2 blocks a game. He's 7 feet, 240 pounds. This is a guy that can either come off the bench for Bam Adebayo or start next to Bam Adebayo. And that way, Bam can move to his natural position, power forward. And the last time that we saw Bam as a power forward, who played the center? It wasn't Hassan Whiteside. It was Kelly Olynyk and Myers Leonard. We've seen in the past that if you put a stretch five next to Bam, it works. But Kel Ware is different. He's not a slow stretch five. He's one of the fastest players in the NBA draft. So this is a kid that not only gives you what you need, which is length, defensive presence, and an interior presence, but he also gives you what you need in the offensive end. If Kel Ware is there in 15, I'm taking him.
Martel, who do you think, in your opinion, the Miami Heat should draft? We know we just saw a report a couple days ago or yesterday saying that Caleb Martin is opting out, which we already knew. So I know Jaime can kind of fulfill that position a little bit, but we can get a wing player, a point guard, or a backup big. There's a lot of holes we need to fill. So what do you think we should do?
Yeah, so it's like you said, like when it comes to the Miami Heat, we have a lot of holes to fill. I'm not really big on drafting a point guard right now, only because you could pretty much find a guard almost anywhere. You know what I mean? You could really get a guard from almost any trade or really just off the G League alone. I think that the Miami Heat, they need athleticism. I think that's one thing that we really haven't had outside of Bam Adebayo and a little bit of Caleb Martin. We have no athleticism. We have no guys really jumping out the gym. There's two guys that are on my radar. Tyler Smith from the G League Ignite. He's 6'11", great handle. He can shoot. He's a lefty. He can give you, or at least plug most of the holes that we need like on this team. Same thing with Tristan Da Silva. I think that he's a great two-way player. He's a senior. He's 22 years old. He's kind of gonna fill that like Jaime role that we need. We need a lot of two-way ability and just overall defense. So when you look at a guy like Tristan Da Silva or Tyler Smith, you really can't go wrong with either of them.
Trent, what about you? There's a lot of guys that seem to possibly slip. I've heard from you and Martel in the past that this is not a top-heavy draft. We're not going to get any Hall of Famers. There's no superstars in this draft, really, but there are going to be a good rotational players and role players. There's guys like Ron Holland from the G League who might fall. Are there any guys that you think would fit with this Miami Heat?
Man, listen, bro. Listen, bro. Let me get this straight. I read all my comments. I read everybody else's comments every time we make a video. And what we talk about is trade rumors all the time, right? And when I read my comments, the specific comment says, I don't want anybody if we're not going to go all in. If it's a minor move, I don't want it. If it's Isaiah Stewart, he ain't going to help us win. If it ain't Donovan Mitchell, if it ain't this, that, I don't want it. So In that sense, this pick right here doesn't make sense of drafting another young guy because we're still trying to build Jovic. Jaime still has another opportunity to get better. And now we know how Spo is when it comes to young guys. He don't play them too much. And if this is the last season that we have Jimmy Butler, why not go all in? At the end of the day, it's a first-round pick. It's a top 15 pick. So a young team would love to take that in. And I think it's time to trade this pick. I think there's some – I'm not asking for a star player. I'm just asking for some role players because that's what we all ask for, right? Players that come in mind, like Marcus Smart, is supposed to be traded like this draft for like the 9th or 6th overall pick. I forgot, whatever it is. But like something like that, like a minor move that can improve your roster like dramatically, right? Like Marcus Smart to this team would be huge.
Perfect. That would be a perfect trade.
Exactly. So like that's why I'm willing to trade this pick. And you know, if we can't trade it, it's fine. But you still got to give calls. You still got to see what's this dumb truck wants to make mad noise right now as I'm trying to make this video, bro. Jesus Christ. But yeah, so if you're available to like you call some teams to see what they're offering, and if you don't like anything, fine, go with the players that y'all naming and stuff like that. But I just feel like for the first season as the rookie, unless it's Jaime, like I don't see him doing too well, even whatever player we get, because like there's good players here, but it's gonna take time to develop. Even the first overall pick, it's gonna take time for him to develop. The second and third, they're all gonna take time. There's not a legit star in this draft where it's like, okay, he's ready now to carry this team like a Victor or a Zion back in or a job. So it's just like I'm looking to trade this pick and see what else the Miami Heat can do. Because like I said, we don't know what we're gonna do with Jimmy. Are we giving the extension or not? And if we don't, this is the last season that we're gonna go all in my opinion. So yeah.
I think that's a great one, bro. The Marcus Smart trade, beautiful idea. If you're able to trade the 15th pick, you may have to attach future draft picks, maybe like a young piece like Jovic or someone like that. But if you're able to get Marcus Smart and keep Jaime Jaquez, I mean, look at that. You can plug in Marcus Smart next to Terry Rozier as the starting backcourt. That boosts up your defensive presence. You can have Tyler come off the bench as the sixth man, or you now have the flexibility to trade Tyler and keep a guy like Duncan Robinson. Marcus Smart is a beautiful trade. Will it happen? I would give that like a 5 to 10% shot. Chances are that won't happen. I will say this to Trent's point. Drafting a young piece is kind of difficult when you're a contending team, especially with a coach like Spo. You know, he doesn't really trust young guys. We've seen what he did with Jaime Jaquez, but Jaime Jaquez had 4 years of experience. So if the Heat draft a guy like that, he can help immediately. But remember the Christian Brown effect in the 2023 NBA Finals. You know, he came off the bench for the Denver Nuggets, and he single-handedly won them a game against us. That's kind of what you're looking for in a rookie for the draft, not somebody who's going to be a future Hall of Famer or who's going to be an all-star. When you're a contending team picking at 15, I feel the best draft pick you need to make, who can help us fill us a hole, who can help us win games, not just in the regular season, but potentially in the playoffs. So you got to stay away from like the 18-year-old guys at that pick. Like, in my opinion, get a guy who's done 3 years of college, a guy that has a lot of experience who can help you win now. And then another thing to Trent's point, you can still trade the draft pick. If you trade the draft pick, if you draft the pick, all you got to do is wait 30 days and then you can trade it. So just because we make a pick and we don't make a trade on draft night doesn't mean that pick won't be traded.
I will say though, right? A player that I do like is Toppage, and I know we talked about him before. And I know he won't be ready this year, and he probably, well, I don't know how that thing is gonna go with his injury.
It's a minor ACL injury. I think he'll be ready.
Yeah, but you know how Spo is. He gotta like get used to the system.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't have a choice this year because we're losing so many guys, bro. You know, they won't have a choice because like it's either you're gonna play, you know, one of the rookies or you're gonna play somebody from the G League. So I honestly think that Spo won't have a choice, just like how he didn't have a choice with Jaime. He had to play Jaime. There was really no way he couldn't.
Or an old vet, or the shitty centers we had in the past, like a Dwayne Dedman or a Cody Zeller. You think Spo wanted to play those guys? That's all we could afford.
He had to,
based on our salary situation. And also another thing, real quick, Trent, before you hop in, our young guys don't play unless they're a lottery pick, and we haven't had too many of those. Like obviously we had Bam and Tyler at the very end, 13 and 14. Beasley, number 2, of course he played a lot. Wade, number 3 pick, played a lot. Or 5. Karam Butler was like number 3. He played a lot. Like Justice Winslow, number 10, he played. It's because we're getting late picks, and to Ernest's point, we're a contending team. So Spo's, of course, not going to play those guys because they're not lottery picks. They're not expected to be good, obviously, right? So it's harder to make the rotation if you're out of the lottery. But we're close to the lottery, right? So who knows? Anyway, go ahead, Trent.
Well, let me say something, though, because my question is to y'all and to everybody is, and we don't know this, so it's kind of hard to answer. We don't know what direction this team's going. We really don't. So it's like, are we? Yeah, you could say we're contending because we have Jimmy and Bam and Tyler, sure, but
for now,
you haven't really confirmed to us like what are you doing with Jimmy? Because after the whole Jimmy situation, it's like, okay, if you lock him up, I know the direction you want to go, but if you just let him go and trade him, and it's just like, all right, well then maybe we keep the pick, right? You don't want to trade the pick if you're trading your star player. You just develop the role like the young people. But that's the problem to me. Like we're just kind of left here clueless. We're just going with assumptions and whatever we want to go with at this point. But I mean, we'll see what the Heat do. To be honest, I'm willing to trade Terry Rozier. I'm willing to do it.
Over Tyler?
Listen,
you have a preference between the two?
You know how I feel about Tyler. Tyler has no trade value. Terry has more trade value than him, and he didn't even play in the postseason. Straight up. Simple as that. He didn't even play, and he has more trade value than him. You know why? Because they know what Terry can bring on the court, and they know what Tyler can bring on the court. He doesn't fucking play. So don't get me started with Tyler, because I haven't talked about Tyler in a long time in this podcast. If you guys notice, I don't bring him up no more. Don't get me started with that bum. But at this point, I'd rather have John Wall than freaking Tyler. Nah, let me stop.
Stop it. I
mean, look. Trent makes valid points, though. It's true. Like, we don't know what direction the team's going in. Like, there's so many rumors. Like, for example, we could be watching the draft tomorrow, and we can hear that the Rockets traded for Jimmy Butler, and the Heat had the 3rd pick. That's a rumor that's going around, and it makes sense because Jimmy's from Texas. There's no state taxes in Texas, and it's Houston playing with Ime Udoka on the rise. But I'm telling y'all right now, it's not happening. I know the answer. We all really know the answer deep down inside. The Heat are not making trades. They're just not. We can talk about speculation. We can talk about rumors. We can talk about all of this. Guys, what's going to happen in what's going to happen in November? Starting night, you're going to see a starting lineup of Terry Rozier, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Nikola Jovic, and Bam Adebayo. I know Heat fans don't want to hear it. I know people are going to castrate me for saying this. That's reality. That is what's going to happen. If the Heat make a trade, it's going to be a very small trade, but I doubt it's going to happen. Now, look, I may be wrong. They may shock us all tomorrow. But if we look at the past, we can see a pattern. The Heat don't do that. I think Pat Riley feels this team can do it. I believe that Pat Riley feels this team can do it. He just needs more of a commitment from Jimmy Butler. That's why he said what he said in the press conference. I don't think he's going to trade Jimmy. I don't think anybody's going to get traded. And to Trent's point, Trent is 100% right. Tyler has no value. None. So you cannot trade Tyler. The only way you can trade Tyler is waiting during the regular season. If he has a good regular season, that's the only way you can trade him. My opinion.
So look, I'm actually fine. Okay, call it crazy because, I'm looking for star players. But I'm actually fine just getting role players. That's the thing. That's all I'm asking for. Just give me a role player. Give me a Brook Lopez. Give me a Marcus Smart, and let's ride. And let's see what we can do with Jimmy and Bam. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking, and trust me, I'm not asking for Paul George. Me and Amir, we talked about it. I hate Paul George. The dude sucks. But I'm not. Obviously, our dream target's Mitchell. But I'm not even asking for that no more. All I'm asking. Yep. Give me a Marcus Smart. Give me a Brook Lopez. Give me this type of role player that could put like energy on this team and like boost bolster our roster. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
We need high level role players.
That's
because
facts.
When you look at the big 3 run, because like a lot of people don't like veterans, but when you look at our big 3 run, we always only had veterans. We never really had young guys on our team. We had Ray Allen, Birdman Anderson, Rashad Lewis, Mike Miller. So that's why like when I look across the league, like Torian Prince, John Wall, Bol, like all we need is just veterans or just players that are established in the NBA around Bam and Jimmy that can help complement our best players. Listen, we might not like it, but guess what? We can still keep Jaime. We can still keep Jovic, and guess what? We can at least make a run with a better overall team. Because listen, if we're gonna have Cole Swider and all these other people, Jamal Cain on the bench, we're wasting our time here. We're wasting our time. I would rather go get an actual NBA player with actual NBA talent on this roster.
And man, don't make that face. You said,
Yeah,
don't make that face. Don't make that face.
It is what it is. Because we have no money.
Hey, Bol is better than anybody off our bench.
Thank you.
This is why, ladies and gentlemen, Trent does not know basketball. He said Bol's better than Jaime. Come on. You think he's better than Duncan Robinson? Value? I mean, you can't compare them.
No, I wouldn't.
You know what he's talking about. He's talking about Jamal Cain. He's talking about Orlando Robinson.
At least compare him to the centers before you say anybody on a roster. Sure.
Now you're trying to be a smartass, but you know Bol has potential, and you know it true.
Yes, at 7'4"?
Like, come on, bro.
The Heat had him and they let him go, so I'll never understand that one.
No,
never understand.
No, they
one.
traded the pick, so they picked him for Denver. Essentially, they never had the pick.
So, I thought they had him. Huh.
Let's
they
be
picked
honest,
him for Denver specifically.
If Duncan's back is never fine, yeah, Bol's better than him because Duncan can't play.
Why are we talking about Bol, dude? The guy's like
I'm just saying.
He's a journeyman for a reason. You think basketball coaches and organizations don't realize a guy's a scrub if he's a scrub? Come on.
Real quick.
We're talking about Bol.
Man, you got to realize these are the type of players the Heat go for. So that's why we're talking about it. They're not going for nobody else.
And they don't work. Trent, you probably don't remember this shit. You know who Greg Oden is? Do you remember him on the Miami?
No, that's completely different. Greg Oden was at the end of his career.
Do you remember Eddie Curry? Okay, I'm just saying, like, fine. I guess you're right. He's a lot.
I don't want Drew Smith. I don't want Drew Smith when you can get other NBA guys that are across the NBA. Dennis Smith Jr., he's a great other piece. Why would we have Drew Smith on our roster when we can get established NBA players? And I think that's where this Miami Heat roster is flawed because we have too many people that can pretty much do the same thing. Caleb, Jaime, they could do the same thing.
Yep.
There's no athletes on this roster outside of Bam Adebayo, and this is the NBA.
Yeah. And we have to, and this is why this draft is important, honestly, because we have no money right now as a first apron team. Like we're talking about Bol and like Torian Prince, like any of these guys Russ Westbrook if he opts out at age 35. Like
no, but you do that because they're going to help the roster because when Jimmy's out, you need people to step up. And guys like Russell Westbrook, he's going to step up. Guys like Torian Prince, all those role players, that's where you need high level role players. But how am I going to push Jamal Cain and Jamal Cain don't play? How am I going to push Jamal? All these other guys that they never play, they don't have any NBA minutes. Why am I going to put them out there when Jimmy Butler's hurt?
Get it, Trent. Get it, Trent.
Hold up.
Good point.
Hold up. You did not just come at Russell Westbrook talking about like that's a bad fucking pickup.
Yeah,
I know.
Russell Westbrook will be the best player off our bench 120%.
Absolutely.
And he would actually play 82 games.
Yes.
Unlike Jimmy Butler and Tyler.
No one plays 82 in this pussy era of basketball.
I mean, but no, he does play. Not 82.
Does.
You need guys
not
that are
now.
Play, and you need guys that are not going to just get randomly in. Bro, this roster, everyone like on this roster gets hurt. Tyler's going to miss games. Caleb, we don't even talk about how injured he was this past season. He missed like the first 20 games of the regular season.
Yep.
We need guys who are going to play it. And I think if we can have consistent play from our role players, our team looks overall better. But you can't have a roster where, 5 guys are missing 20 games or 15 games at a time.
That's why the 2025 season is going to be so interesting, Martel. And I love that you just mentioned that, bro, because I think the problem that we had all season, and this is something that we talked about, and Martel and Trent would say it until their skin turned blue. Jimmy Butler doesn't try in the regular season, and we would all go back and forth on that. But what if you're Spo? What's the argument that you have? If you're going through the 2024 season and you see Jimmy coasting and you come to Jimmy and you say, bro, I need you to play harder. What's his response? What's the thing that Jimmy always said during the regular season? We'll be fine.
But
go ahead, Marcel.
But they didn't build the roster properly. So what I mean by that is they know Jimmy Butler's going to coast. If you know your best player is not going to be there all the time, why wouldn't you surround him with proper talent to help carry him through the regular? That's the part that I don't understand.
They didn't have the money.
For the past 4 years, he's been load managing. That's fine. That's cool. But if you know that, you can't have Jimmy Butler as your best player and then have mediocre talent next to Tyler and Bam. You can't do that.
So here's why. And this is the reason why I was saying what I was saying. I think Spo's going to have a lot more leverage because whenever he would go to the guys, I'm sure the players were like, oh, we were the 8th seed last year. Look what we did. We'll be fine. Remember 2022. One thing that we don't talk about the 2022 season, look at the games played. Jimmy only played 58 games, and we were still the 1st seed. Why? Because Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, Max Strus stepped up. Kyle Lowry was holding it down. That's the reason why Spo's going to be able to look at these guys and say, look what happened last year. You guys fucked around during the regular season. We had a terrible season record, and look what happened in the playoffs. Now you guys need to step up. I think the Miami Heat players are really going to look at themselves. Now, we don't know what it is. Is it really Miami Heat culture? We're going to find out, because this season, if we see the same team do what they do during the regular season, we know this build is over. We know it's over. We need a better regular season. And the way that's going to happen is, like Martell said, get the right players around Jimmy. You know Jimmy's not going to play 82 games. Build a team that you know that when Jimmy is not going to play, you're going to have the right players to step up and help. That's probably the only reason why we're hearing guys like Ron Holland, maybe Isaiah Collier, who I don't want on this team, but they're maybe looking at other wing players, because if Caleb leaves, if Haywood leaves, and all you have is Jaime Jaquez, and you know Jimmy's not going to play, then you need to make up for what you lose during the regular season. We know Jimmy's going to ball in the playoffs. As much as the four of us probably hate to accept this, you have Jimmy for the playoffs. He doesn't do crap in the regular season, but you know what he does in the playoffs. So what do you need to do for a player like that? Make sure that you have a good regular season like you did in 2022. Get a guy that can lead this roster. I love Bam. He's our capitan, as we like to say, but you need another guy that can hold it down during the regular season. We wanted it to be Tyler Hero. We don't know what he can really build. But guys, there's another player we're forgetting about, Terry Rozier. This was a guy that was stepping up towards the end of the season. He got injured. 2024 was the injury season. We know that. But give me a fully healthy roster. Give me a Terry Rozier who has had a full training camp with Bam. Convince or not convince, make Tyler Hero come off the bench. Tell Tyler, this is what you're doing. There's no and ifs or buts. This is what you're doing. You're coming off the bench. And I promise you guys, if we get a healthy roster without Jimmy playing his 60 games, I think this team can do it. You get a good pick at 15. Kel Ware, Tyler Smith, Kyle Filipowski. Get a big man. Get a big man that can space the floor. For God's sakes, this is the problem that we've seen. We saw it against the Denver Nuggets. We had no size. That's what I feel we need. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but Jesus Christ.
We'll see what happens.
Take it away, Amir.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of smoke right now. Usually where there's smoke, there's fire. There's new Jimmy rumors every single day. So
Every day
they're saying the Knicks are interested, the Rockets, the Grizzlies are interested, apparently, possibly in adding Jimmy Butler. So again, where there's smoke, there's typically fire. So who knows what can happen? I don't want the Miami Heat to trade Jimmy Butler, but it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen, but it is possible. I mean, when this many reporters are talking about something, like, there is a likelihood. It's not all BS, but I don't think it's going to happen necessarily. I think we'll come to some sort of agreement. I know Trent will be pissed off about that, but who knows? Draft nights are exciting. You know, trades happen, and who knows? Maybe number 15 could be our Devin Booker, right? Our Al Jefferson, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I can't even say his last name right now. Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, got picked at 15th. You never know. So who knows? This could be a big day in Miami Heat's future tomorrow. We'll see. But I think that's it for our kind of draft episode, even though we went off on a little tangent. But Martell, is there anything you want to close with?
Make sure you guys like, share, comment, subscribe, and thank you for all the support.
And that is enough.